Hey y'all, I'm Eboni K. Williams here, host and attorney extraordinaire. Welcome to Holding Court, where we analyze the very latest in legal headlines, the ones that got all the streets talking. You know what we do? We dig deep into how the courts impact the culture. We break it down, going straight from gavel to your news feed. And every week, we keep it 100. Right, Dustin Ross?
That's right.
Dustin Ross, my love, here we are. It's October, fourth quarter. We're back in the saddle, baby. How you feeling?
I feel great, and for some reason, this October doesn't feel spooky to me. It feels sweet.
Not it doesn't feel spooky.
It don't feel spooky to me.
Okay. Instead, how does it feel, my dear?
Sweet and hopeful, and I'm just looking forward. I don't know what it is, but this is a very hopeful transition in the fall for me. I feel like this last part of the year is going to be good for all of us.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm feeling, obviously, got a new role, new position, got a new part-time job.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Okay.
I'll be Liberty's mom, and I'm going to echo that, Dustin. I'm going to invite all the good things this fall. I already have her Halloween costume. Speaking of that.
Oh my goodness. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see it.
It's so crazy because jurors, if y'all don't know, Dustin and I live in the same neighborhood. So have you help me out on this, Dustin? I did such bad homework in preparation of being Liberty's mom. Do you see little kids trick or treating on Halloween?
Very
little kids?
rarely.
Okay.
Not like what we are accustomed to and what most people associate with traditional Halloween, participation from kids. These kids don't give a damn. They want candy on Cash App. They want a Zelle. They want Roblox. You know what I'm saying? They don't give a fuck about that jack-o'-lantern bucket and a Jolly Rancher.
Yeah.
They don't do that. They don't look. Liberty was like, "That's right."
Yeah, she's like, "No, just run me my Cash App." Yeah.
That's right.
Dustin got it, Mom. I was thinking that because I also know I've been living in this Harlem neighborhood for over 10 years, and not one time have I went to like CVS or Rite Aid and picked up a bag of candy or nothing. Have you? Do you do that?
No, I don't. I don't want nobody knocking on my damn door anyway. Kids are not. So, but I would though if I lived in, you know how it is, Ebony, when we live in these buildings.
So that's what I need to know. Like, do people trick or treat inside of buildings? Yes or no?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes. So you might want to have just something on deck just in case, but it's not going to be a lot of traffic like it typically would.
Okay. This is going to be hysterical. Yeah. It's crazy. And this is probably just me, the things I'm paying attention to now. That for the past 11 years, I didn't give a damn about.
Yeah, quite literally, right?
No, literally. But here we are. All right, jurors. Sorry about that little sidebar, but just had to get that off my chest. Y'all know it's been a minute. We obviously popped back in for the special edition episode of Diddy because we just had to do that, right?
We had to. We
had to. And I appreciate the love that you showed Dustin and myself for our willingness to do that, break maternity leave and come back in that special way for you because, that's what we do for our jurors. Now, also, Dustin, I'm sure you saw we were tagged. Shout out to friend to the show, Charlamagne the God, when this YSL situation, popped off just recently here with a motion for a mistrial. The judge giving some just tawdry whipping to the prosecution. And don't worry, jurors, that is definitely going to close out our docket on this brand new episode that we are back into the game. But first, we want to get into the Diddy of it all. There are some updates in the Sean Combs case. We're going to get into the latest from, finally, we did a very lengthy episode here on Holding Court around affirmative action, the Supreme Court's dismantling of affirmative action as we know it as it relates to college. And so we're going to give you some update. We got some data. We're a year out from that ruling. We know some of the impact. Notice heavy on some. So we'll break that down. And then, yes, we will conclude with the very latest with the YSL Young Thug trial. All right, Dustin, we're about to get into it. So the latest now with Sean Combs, the Diddy of it all. So last we left, y'all jurors, we were talking, of course, about the fact that Sean Combs had been arrested, officially charged with RICO statute and several, 3 counts to be exact, of federal charges. Now, we've all seen the headline, right? Texas attorney Tony Busby saying in a recent press conference. By the way, we're going to unpack that part too, Dustin, because I want to know what you thought with the fact that these are not new charges at this point. Let's be clear. There are no additional charges from this headline, but instead it was presented in a press conference. I want to know your thoughts on that, but give me a second. Tony Busby saying in a recent press conference that he is representing accusers with allegations that go back more than 20 years. And not one accuser, not two accusers, not five accusers. This man talking about he got 120 accusers that will soon, I know, right? So somebody texted him, he said, damn.
That's all you can say.
120? 120 accusers over the course of 20 years with allegations ranging from violent sexual assault all the way to rape, facilitated sex with controlled substances. So we're hearing a lot about the drug use in this process, dissemination of video recordings, and sexual abuse of minors. Of course, the thing that a lot of people, Dustin, are stuck on is that the accusation at least stands that the youngest victim could have been as young as 9 years old. Dustin, what'd you think when you saw it?
It's disgusting, and that's revolting, to say the least. Certain things for me are just hard lines, you know what I'm saying? Violence against women and kids, and definitely like sexual abuse like that, that's a full stop for me. Anybody that's fucking kids, you can get out of here and just go burn in a pile. Yeah. That's how I feel. So when I heard those accusations, although to be clear, he has not been charged. Correct. Right? So Correct. This is not this is not connected to him, but he is accused of it, and that's bad enough in most cases. So yeah, I thought it was disgusting.
This accusation potentially, Dustin, of A, 120 victims possibly, B, a youngest victim as young as 9 years old, and then of course the range of crimes being alleged here look very similar to what we've seen in the RICO indictment, all absolutely at the height of unconscionability. And also, I'm gonna tell you, Dustin, I don't like that this came out in a press conference, and I'm gonna tell you why.
It feels cheap. It feels like an ambulance chasing attempt to attach some more shit to something that was already going on. To me, the fact that it came out this coming out in a press conference feels completely different for me than when Cassie's lawsuit came out. Yeah, you get what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying, because Cassie's lawsuit, along with the federal charges, Dustin, came out in a proper forum, which is an actual credible court of law. It was actual legitimate legal paperwork. This really This is definitely undermining of the credibility of the things that are already on the table that are moving forward legitimately. You know what I mean?
I agree 100%.
Yeah. So I'm not particularly familiar with this attorney, Tony Busby, but to supersede your own legitimate criminal process with a PR stunt, a PR move, because that's exactly what it is. It's literally giving out of order. Like, there is an order to things. And I'm gonna tell you, Dustin, like, to me, one of my heroes, the late and extraordinarily great Johnny Cochran, was the master of walking and chewing gum at the same time when it relates to the actual law and the legal processes and the PR piece. So Brother Johnny would come out of the courtroom and stand on the courthouse steps and essentially give a press conference, right? And he's not the first or the last to do it. I just think he did it the best. But notice the order. He's coming out of court, or he's like, even if it was a preliminary hearing, and that's when he starts kind of trying his case in the court of public opinion. But not before there's been a pretrial hearing, not before there's been a jury convened, not before there's even just been legitimate.
She's right.
You are so silly. Yeah, not before there's been at least the origin of the legitimate criminal process. So I don't like it at all. And if I'm one of the 120 victims, Dustin, I actually don't appreciate it. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be connected to that, because it makes you seem as if you are jumping on the bandwagon, trying to get something out of this and creating a story that really plays on something that's really sensitive and really fucked up for a lot of people. And that's the thing that I hate about this case specifically. There have been several credible, legitimate, believable, plausible scenarios and circumstances that we have been informed of as this thing has progressed, right? There's also been a lot of craziness. There's been people using still images from known pornographic videos saying that it's him and other people, just lying, trying to touch. That stuff cheapens the legitimacy of a very serious matter. You know what I'm saying? And it's unfortunate that we have to deal with that. And it is a talent for someone like Johnny Cochran to be able to literally walk the line effectively of utilizing the energy of the press and the public opinion and giving information to people while also leaning into and going back to due process and the legal process. Like that's how you do it. It's not about exciting the crowd. You know what I mean?
No, Johnny's the master class of it. And if you're not going to do it that way, you should really stay out of it, which is why you see a lot of lawyers, Dustin, as we know, refusing to engage with the press, right? You know why, Dustin? Because they don't know how to. And I applaud them because they know what they don't know. If you don't know how to manage the public relations piece, the PR piece, and even-handedly try the cases in both the court of law and public opinion, sit your ass down somewhere. You know what I mean?
That's it.
Yeah, don't be out here giving amateur hour, as you said earlier, ambulance chasing vibes, because it really undermines and is it has a very negative impact on the clients, and your credibility is now already to me, if I'm the judge, I'm literally already looking at you sideways, literally, before you've opened your mouth on behalf of your client. Yeah, and two, something you said makes me think of the word spectacle. And I hate that, those that want to sit in a premature posture of defense for Sean Combs and say that, all of this is a bunch of malarkey and a bunch of hoopla and just trying to bring down another successful black man. Sadly, Dustin, for me, this type of press conference coming out before any actual formal charges are on the table, it adds fuel to that fire, right?
Of course it does. Of course it does. And it is giving, like you said, adding fuel to a fire that shouldn't be going in the first place. This is not about Diddy, right? This is about finding justice and righting a wrong that was committed against some victims of some really, really fucked up traumatic experiences. People are caught up in the gotcha piece. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and the baby oil of it all.
True. Yeah, all of that and the fake AI photos and just the overall ghetto nature of the way people are receiving a very serious matter. This is so serious. And if you saw that video of Cassie being physically assaulted and abused, and you still caught up in the salacious, gossipy nature of this,
you don't want to pay. You don't want to get it. That's what that tells me. If you're focusing on the baby oil or the AI photos or the black eyes or the soullessness and all this bullshit, you don't want to get it.
Who was at a party? I don't give a. Do you know how many parties happen?
Right.
This is not about that. This is about the laws that were broken and the horrible acts that were committed against people who were vulnerable and victims. That's what it's about. So people are really starting to irritate me specifically, getting tied up in the gossip of it. They're cracking jokes that aren't funny. You could at least make it funny.
Yeah, you're right. A, make it funny. B, just maybe pause. Like, let's get a verdict or some shit first, and then we can go into the pop culture piece. But I'm with you. It's very disheartening. And again, I'm going to blame my colleague in the law on this one for adding to that unsavory piece. In a way that's unprotected. Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about. Well, we actually do, right? So this gentleman, hold on one second.
Or him, excuse me.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm sorry.
He's probably a bitch. That's why you said it. I'm just playing.
Okay.
I'm just like, so this gentleman, Tony Busby, Dustin, I'm not totally familiar with him. What I can expect his expectation is what it usually is in these types of cases when you chasing cameras. Just attention hungry, thirsty, trying to be the next how celebrity, that celebrity lawyering is a thing, meaning not just your clients are the celebrities. No, you, sir, now are trying to put yourself in the posture of celebrity. That's what it is. He wants to be a Robert Shapiro, a Mark Garagos, a Gloria Allred. You know what I mean? A Sean Holly, shout out to my sister there. Yeah, where we actually know the names of the lawyers detached from the cases or the celebs they represent. And it's not going to happen, Mr. Busby. So buzz your ass on down, sit down somewhere, buzz on down, and let the judicial process play out. Indeed. Last piece on the Combs piece, Dustin, I just wanted to address something else I'm hearing the streets kind of getting up in arms about, and that is the jail conditions of Mr. Combs as he awaits trial, as we reported last episode, a special edition episode on United States versus Sean Combs. Check it out if you missed it. Sean Combs's bail has been denied not once but twice. Update on that, by the way, jurors, he and his team have appealed it yet again. I expect it to be denied again. So anyways, he will sit and remain exactly where he is, which is down the street from us right here in New York. He is in Brooklyn, and he will remain in custody at the Brooklyn Metropolitan Detention Center. Now, a lot of people, Dustin, are saying that they're hearing that he's in like deplorable conditions, that, the food is horrible and that the bed is hard and that the sheets are stiff and all of these things. And they're making some case that he's being mistreated. And this is what I have to say to, well, before I run my mouth, are you hearing that, like people kind of coming to his defense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which plays into the bigger conversation you spoke of earlier about this turning into now a conversation about black men being wronged by the justice system.
Oh, yes,
and,
yes.
And being treated unfairly because he's a black man and he's rich, he's a target, and so they're purposely trying to fuck with him. That's what a lot of people are trying to paint the conversation to be, or set the scene to be. But the reality is that that's not true, per what I've come to understand, and what I'm sure you're about to share with us moving forward. He's not receiving treatment that is in any way more negative or harsher because he's a black rich man in jail. He's in fucking jail and he's not getting out on bail. That's it.
I mean, guess what?
I'm saying?
Guess what, people? Jail is not the Four Seasons.
They don't have a penthouse suite.
Yeah, it's actually not. It's not the London Hotel. It's not the Soho House. It's not the Ritz. It's literally not. I don't even know that it's the Hampton Inn. No, I'm not even sure if it's the Comfort Inn.
La Quinta. Hell. Okay.
Not Red. What you know about Red Roof Inn? What you know about
Red Roof Inn? Okay. The ones we come in from the outside.
Listen.
Yeah, I just
with a suite. But listen.
Okay.
Oh my God! Listen, it's not that, y'all, and here's the serious point, right? Dustin said it. I'm glad you said it, Dustin. We literally in researching, trying to produce this segment, myself nor Ms. Hobbs could really find really reliable data or evidence to show us some deplorable condition. We just simply couldn't find it, which tells us that there's some level of created narrative around that piece. And here's the thing, because, again, me coming from the criminal defense lens, that being my experience, I believe in the presumption of innocence. And I know you do as well, Dustin. I believe in the enforcement of our constitutional rights. And here's the bottom line. Absolutely. Here's the bottom line on this jail conditions piece, y'all. And anybody that's curious about it. Sean Combs, like every other defendant, and actually every other prosecuted offender, right? So this is pre-trial or post. They all share they all enjoy the same constitutional right of protecting them from cruel and unusual punishment. Okay? That's the 8th Amendment of the United States Constitution. Feel free to look it up. You know what it doesn't say in there, Dustin? It doesn't say that you get to enjoy, while detained, comfort. There's no constitutional guarantee of comfort in jail. So I really think that people need to reset their expectation and their perspective on this, because again, I think you're right. I think it's very much this, we want to be hyper vigilant around the possibility of a harsher punishment, harsher conditions, more mistreatment of a black man in America. And you actually are a black man in America, Dustin Ross. I am proximate to black men in America as a black woman in America. So I understand the need for that hypervigilance. I truly do. But I just need
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's keep that energy for situations like that. You know what I mean? Not simply because we are so kind of ingratiated culturally with the likes of Sean Combs and the Hamptons white parties and the yachts and his lifestyle, and thinking this is going to look like that. This ain't that. This literally ain't that. And anything that says that he deserves to be particularly comfortable at this particular juncture is just misplaced.
This is not Martha Stewart doing time for
but that's true too. Yeah.
Or Teresa, Giudice. This is not.
Or Wesley Snipes. We got to name the black people.
Snipes.
See, that's the problem.
Lauryn
in this
Hill.
Conversation, right? It's so racialized, Dustin, that we have to literally like laser focus on the black examples. Otherwise, people will say like, see, that's the point. Yeah, you're right.
They'll miss it.
So, like you said, Lauryn Hill, perfect example. Wesley Snipes, perfect example.
Lil Kim,
absolutely. Wayne, Lil Wayne, a lot of people.
Lil Wayne,
yeah. So this, like you're saying, this is not that. This is heinous. The accusations. This is systemic, and we'll see what the verdict looks like. That's why we have a due process. He's only in pre-trial detainment. But this notion that he's experiencing something so egregious because he's not getting a 3-course gourmet meal, knock it off. Knock it off.
Right.
For those of y'all that are out there spending a lot of energy and compassion on the conditions Sean Combs is experiencing right now as he awaits trial, keep that for LaShawn Thompson, the brother that was literally killed during his detainment, and I believe it was pre-trial as well, in the state of Georgia. This man literally died of infestation, eating his face off, literally. Dehydration, malnutrition. That is something that deserves our attention as it relates to the horrendous nature of what pre-trial conditions could look like. So let's just be clear that what Sean Combs is experiencing ain't that. And not that is the standard, but let's just be clear around perspective. That's all I'm saying, Dustin.
Well, yeah, because just like you said, it's not the standard. Obviously, that is an extreme case, but that's what people are likening this to.
Yeah.
And we need to be clear that it's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it really ain't that. Okay, moving on now to, we've got some data. We're about a year out from what I believe, I'm going on record, Dustin Ross, as saying it, for me personally, the most egregious and offensive Supreme Court ruling of this era of the United States Supreme Court. And this is the undoing, the absolute dismantling of affirmative action as it relates to college admissions as we know it. So y'all remember just last year, the Supreme Court came out and said in a opinion written by the Chief Justice, and keep in mind, that's how important they think it is, by the way, that the Chief Justice said, let me go ahead and write on this one, John Roberts, absolutely, that no longer can race be even considered as one of the many factors of college admissions. Okay, so that's no longer a thing via the United States Supreme Court ruling just last year. So now that we're a year out from it, Dustin, we've got a little bit of data to show us a little glimpse. And I'm saying a little glimpse because this is going to take many years, y'all, for us to really understand the full impact, right, of what it's really going to look like as it relates to the future generation. And some of y'all jurors, some of your kids and their progeny are all going to have a totally different experience than we did. You better damn believe it, based on this ruling. So some of the things we see now, Dustin, we see some colleges reporting a decrease, a significant decrease in the enrollment of Black students, starting as early as the years like 2027, 2028. So some of the things we're seeing is 2024 Black enrollment at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, also known as MIT, has decreased. Amherst College, decreased. Washington University in St. Louis. Keep in mind, all of those are elite institutions, right, as it relates to their ranking in the college schism, and they have all seen a decrease in the college enrollment. And a lot of the officials, Dustin, are saying that this is a result, it's a direct result of the court's ban on being able to be curious and inquire about race in the admissions process. And so now these schools are having to rely on other things to reach their stated diversity goals. So the court just made it extremely difficult for universities that were actually trying to operate with some act right and actually make sure that their campuses are diverse. And by the way, that's not just for the sake of Black students or Latino students, Hispanic students. That is all
Asian.
Well, we're going to get to the Asian piece. You know I'm saving that.
Russian.
Yeah.
Greek.
You know what? All of the above, the buffet of culture, absolutely. But also, Dustin, this is the piece that people really just didn't appreciate about this diversity mandate that we had previously, white folks benefit, Asian folks benefit, all folks benefit from the proximity of blackness. Like, that's a real fucking thing. From the broader proximity to one another, period. Like, we're all enhanced when we are exposed to the full spectrum of one another's cultures and perspectives. Like, that's what the Supreme Court said. That's what Sandra Day O'Connor, conservative justice appointed by Reagan, first woman on the Supreme Court, that's what she said when she voted to uphold affirmative action in her era. That this is not just about, patting the good black students on the head and giving them a piece of candy so they can go around their fucking way and doing a favor to black American students. This is a improvement. This is a gift to all of the campus community.
People are missing the fact that these processes and programs and laws were put into place because they were needed. They were necessary. There was a disadvantage being purported against black students who really excelled and had the ability to select that.
Correct.
Were qualified.
Yeah.
Okay. They weren't able to have access to the opportunities, the education, none of that. So the lawmakers did what they had to do to create some sort of program, put some sort of restraints in place.
That's right.
and make that happen, right?
Hence
what's
the
your
name
intention?
Affirmative, right? Like affirmative.
Yeah. And the word action.
Yeah.
Okay, because there was an action taking place to fix that.
Yeah.
What is your intention in trying to reverse that?
Well, we know.
That's what you have to really look at, because what is it screaming?
Yeah.
And of course, we're going to see these declines in the statistical data that comes from this being repealed or being removed because it was necessary in the first fucking place.
Exactly right.
And it's a damn shame that it has to be at the expense of people, their lives, their education, their potential, right? Who now have to figure out how to get it out the mud, literally. Instead, when it already was challenging even with the affirmative action shit in place.
That part.
Now it's even harder. How fucking racist do you have to be to go to drive that conversation and drive that movement forward? What was the name of the group, Eboni?
So the group was, Dustin, Students for Fair Admissions, which the ironic titling there in Fair Admissions, led by a very, very far right conservative, Edward Blum. And what he did is so anti-black, it's so shitty. He really used the Asian population because there was no legitimate argument legally he could make, Dustin, that said that whites were being harmed, right? Because their numbers, surprise, surprise, are always gonna be up. Their numbers are always gonna be intact. So what did he have to do? He had to go in his grab bag of red herrings and pull out the Asian student community and use them as a foil, I'm saying, to say that they were the poor Asian students are being discriminated against, and they're having lower admissions percentages because too many blacks and too many Latin students are Latino students are getting into these spots. Now here's the gag. Here's the real gag. Now that we've got some data 1 year later, only 1 year, so this is just a little snapshot, right, Dustin? Guess whose numbers have also decreased in population at these elite schools due to this Supreme Court ruling, which on its face was designed to protect and advance the presence of Asian students. Guess whose numbers also went down?
Them damn Asian students.
Students.
And this is my thing. If you're a person who has not had parents that have enriched you and taught you history, taught you why things are the way that they are, taught you why these things are in place. If you're a vulnerable, young, dumb student at that school who has no concept of, like I said, history,
right,
you're going to hear all that shit, believe it, and now you're creating this horrible temperature and this horrible, environment
and energy
and energy amongst the fucking student body, right? That's now you're gonna have the Asian students and the black students all fighting over nothing when it's all a weapon of white supremacy that they're using them for. That's what's disgusting. So the biggest takeaway for this, to me, teach your kids history as much as you can. Let them know why. We're not just saying that they did black people wrong and looking for something with our hands out. There's history here that has made all of these things necessary and relevant in the first damn place. And unfortunately, We live in a world full of lazy ass parents and other parents who just have too much going on.
Yeah.
And to devote the attention that they would normally give their children and educating them on things. The more you know, the more your perspective is one that has the one that can be understanding of issues like that.
Yeah.
If you know. But if you think that you're just in your body and you're experiencing some sort of hardship and it's coming from these people, and then you hear persons who assume to be or appear to be qualified voices kind of supporting this misinformation,
that's it.
You can be misled, and now we're completely fucked up because these are young folks we're talking about.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I lived it. I lived it in real time in the early 2000s, walking a young whippersnapper I was, walking along
Still
the
are.
campus, right? Still are, I love it. Walking along the campus of UNC Chapel Hill, one of the two institutions that was named in the lawsuit, by the way, along with Harvard. And told to my face, Dustin, you took my boy's spot, white student, young man, you're here because one of my classmates, the white men and boys I went to prep school with, were denied. So that narrative, now, keep in mind I was there at 16 years old. Keep in mind I had a superior SAT score. Keep in mind I had above a 4.0 GPA. Keep in mind all of those things. I was there on a full merit academic scholarship. But all he saw, to your point, Dustin, was a black girl with brown skin that had taken his position, that had taken his white homeboy's position. And that narrative persists to this day. So you said something, Dustin, I want to go back to, which is know your history, right? And if you're listening to Holden Core, you probably have already done this reading, but just on the off chance, I really, really love the way Isabel Wilkerson in her phenomenal bestseller Caste, that's
Absolutely.
Caste. Yes, she deals with this issue, I think, as well as anybody has in contemporary times, right? So where she talks about this phenomenon, right, where non-white people, but that immigrate to this country either in real time or recent generations, truly feel that they are doing themselves a favor and that they are earning white bona fides by stepping into the posture of anti-blackness themselves, right? By being the chief enforcers sometimes, taking on the posture better than the white supremacists themselves and doing that work as they come to this nation, right? So this is definitely could apply to the Asian community and has. And I'm gonna tell you, quiet as kept, who else it applies to, Dustin? When you see that anti-blackness showing up between black Americans who are descendants of American slaves with our African brothers and sisters who have migrated here more recently, or our Caribbean brothers and sisters who have migrated here more recently, that is coming oftentimes from a narrative that they receive either upon or pre-arrival that says, when you get to America, make sure everybody's clear, and it applies going back to the Asian community, right? That you're not like those blacks.
Yep.
That you're not like those blacks who have been there for 400 years and ain't done shit, who have still stood in a posture of subordination, underachievement, poverty, and struggle. And I'm having to just name it because it's a real fucking problem. And when you talked about that environment that is created on these campuses, I guess I'm triggered, Dustin, because again, I remember it all too clearly. And you got to remember, I'm coming just as we record this, not 48 hours ago, I was on campus. I was back at UNC Chapel Hill. Shout out to the Tar Heels, even though y'all took a big fucking L against Pitt. That was disgusting. Anyway, I was just on campus, Dustin, celebrating my 20th college reunion, right? It's been 20 years. And 20 years is a long time, but 20 years ain't a long time in the sense of what has and what has not changed. And that energy, that palpable energy where you see students side-eyeing one another and feeling a way towards one another, it's still very fucking present. And I have to believe that it's only gotten worse because of this type of action from our Supreme Court. And it's a real problem. And so I would just say that I hate that the Asian community is being scapegoated in this process by the likes of this Edward Blum and this, or Bloom, whatever the fuck it is, and this Students for Fair Admissions lawsuit, which is using them as a veiled attempt to execute oppression of Black advancement, let's be clear,
right.
and Latino advancement, because that's exactly the point. Like you said, why would they do that? That's why, to keep us in our place, to make sure that we retain doing those Black jobs. Dustin, this is no different than the Trump of it all when he says that Black folks need to operate in a posture of anti-Hispanic and anti-Latino oppression, because we should be afraid that they're going to, quote, take our Black jobs. It's the same marching orders. It's the same marching orders, and it does nothing, like you said, but advance the positioning of white supremacy. So I just really, really, really need people to realize that you do yourselves no favors, Asian community. You do yourselves no favors, African community. You do yourselves no favors, Jamaican, Haitian, et cetera, communities, by showing up in a posture of anti-Black Americanness. Because we are not your enemy. And if you don't believe us, ask the Asian student population in this moment in real time that are seeing their numbers at these elite schools decrease right along with ours.
Yep.
Right along with ours. All right, I'm done with it. As you can see, I'm on one. So, sad. You know what? I'll leave with this bit of optimism, Dustin, on this one. Because we're now seeing the data, and this is why the data is important. For those of you listening to all this deep analysis and thinking, well, it's done. Why is she talking about? Well, it's what we now know. What we now know about our Supreme Court, Dustin, thanks to the overturning of Roe v. Wade, it's never done.
It's never done.
It's actually never done. Yeah, there's no such thing, contrary to what I was taught in law school almost 20 years ago, there's no such thing as settled law. So the good news is that this will likely be revisited, this issue of whether or not colleges and higher learning institutions can consider, not base, but consider race in its admissions process. And so when that time comes, Dustin Ross, and it is put back on the Supreme Court docket, which I am predicting it will make its way back to, it might take 10 years, might take more, but it's coming. It's coming. It'll pop back up. And this data that we're reporting on today will be germane in that process. The ability to prove legally that when you take the affirmative action piece off the table, you see a decrease, you see a disproportionate presence of the Black population, of the Latino population.
Yeah, and all they did was ensure that people will vote against them and whatever their policy agendas are next time. You gave someone a platform to run on, right? Yep. Reinstating affirmative action and protecting that moving forward for generations moving forward. All you did was give somebody a new crusade. You know what I'm saying?
And in fact, you did it in a new way. You're making a brilliant point, because statistically speaking, affirmative action is not very popular in the American, kind of body politic. While the right for women to choose reproductive rights remains popular across the nation, affirmative action is not particularly popular, even amongst some Black people. But now, because y'all did this dumb shit, you are proof, because a lot of people weren't liking affirmative action, Dustin, or said they weren't in favor of it because they truly believe it wasn't needed. They truly believe that the numbers won't move. And while there are some colleges that were able to maintain their positioning, again, this is only 12 months out. We gotta watch this ticker over the course of, I would say, at least 5 to 10 years before we can really tell the damage that's being done here. And I believe that this will actually have a counter effect and really bring people to the table of supporting things like affirmative action, because they're going to see the devastation.
For sure. At a time when we are in most desperate and the most dire need of brilliant, diverse minds and perspectives. Think about all the people that are going to fall through the cracks and miss out on deserved opportunities at higher education because of this shit. This is horrible, man.
Yeah, horrible. It's actually anti-patriotic. It's actually anti-American.
It's un-American as fuck.
It's literally un-American, and I know people don't want to hear it. Some people don't want to hear it, I should say. But we live in a global society, like it or not. Period. Dot. And if you don't think that countries like China, Japan, Nigeria, listen, India, you better fucking. All right, we're going to move on. All right, everybody, we're going to get to the YSL Young Thug of it all right here as we close out the show. So, again, shout out to friend of the show, Charlamagne the God, for tagging Holding Court and myself as it relates to. And I just want to, name that piece too, Dustin. It means a lot to both of us that when these big ticket issues, these big ticket trials, these big ticket legal dilemmas show up in the culture, that we are the destination, period.
I love that. So
Absolutely.
Many people credited your expertise specifically in predicting the outcome of this Diddy, the happenings of this Diddy trial. So many people have said Eboni K. Williams in holding court was the first one to say that this shit was not over. So people are listening and they know what the fuck is up. You're Eboni K. Williams. You know what I'm saying? This is where you come to hear it.
This is where you come to get it. This is where you come to get it. Element by element, indictment by fucking indictment. So here we go. That's it. Okay, so y'all saw there was this really contentious hearing in the Young Thug trial just last week, a week ago. The new judge, because we've been through several in this trial, Judge Whitaker, heard a motion from the defense, which was for a mistrial. So there was a motion for mistrial from the defense after the prosecutor, the lead prosecutor on this case, Adrian Love, allegedly misrepresented a social media post that she was trying to enter into evidence. And whatever she did, and however she did it, Dustin Ross, set this judge off, set Judge Whitaker off. She'd had enough. She showed up in a form and with the energy that we don't normally see from judges in courtrooms, right? Like normally judges keep it pretty cute. Not that day. Judge Whitaker said, I've had enough. And she went to it. She lashed out against the lead prosecutor. She called her unprepared. Yes, she did. She said she was hiding the ball. And she said a lot more than that. Dustin, she went in and I can't even recapture the energy of just disdain. So y'all listen to it for yourselves.
I mean, I don't want to malign the prosecutor standing in front of me right now. So I'm not going to say the possible things that it could be, but it is baffling to me that somebody with the number of years of experience that you have, time after time after time, continues to seemingly purposefully hide the ball to the extent you possibly can for as long as you possibly can. And I really don't want to believe that it is purposeful. But honestly, after a certain number of times, you start to wonder how it could be anything but that, unless it is just that you are so unorganized that you are throwing this case together as you try it. And I am sorry to say that, but this case is being made much more difficult for everybody because of the haphazard way in which it is being presented. I'm going to take a recess for a few minutes. I'll have a ruling when I get
So ultimately, I do want to say, just to cover the legal side of it, Dustin, before we get into the analysis, the judge, when she stepped off the bench, she said, let me go gather myself. And she came back and she did deny the motion. Okay, so the motion for mistrial was denied ultimately. I was not surprised to see that. Because frankly, y'all, the threshold for a mistrial is very, very high. Okay, so mistrial means just that. It means the trial stops dead in its tracks. It is done. It is over. So that means everything up until that point, from all the evidence submitted, the testimony received, the jury that had been seated, all goes out the window. And at least we forget, in this particular trial, y'all, this is the longest criminal trial in Georgia state history.
Wow.
In Georgia state history, Dustin. Yes, sir. This trial has been going on for well over a year. Let's just look at the timeline. It took them forever to seat the jury, like forever. Literally 8 months after the indictment came down. It took them 8 months to even get a jury that would be willing to participate and qualify to sit. A lot of speculation as to why. We won't get into it in this episode. But either way, it took them 8 months just to seat a jury. Then finally, the trial starts last November. Okay, we're coming up, it's October now, y'all. Do the math. We're 11 months in, almost a year in. And this trial is still dragging on. So the point of that is that a mistrial means millions and millions and millions of dollars, Dustin, thrown out the window. Yeah, without even preserving a record really for appeal, because they never got the verdict. So that's why the judge is, even though she's pissed as hell, as y'all could hear in her audio there, she's still leery to go all the way to the extremity of a mistrial. So I just wanted to lay that out. It's not to say a bunch of fucked up shit has not happened in this case, because it absolutely has. And the vast majority of it, I would say, has been mishandled by the prosecution, because it is their burden. Yes, their burden to carry. Okay. And they have done a piss poor job. And I'm just going to name this. I'm not going to sit and harp on it. No need to beat a dead horse. But you know who is ultimately running things in that prosecutor's office?
Who, Ebony?
Bonnie Willis. That's whose office it is. This is Fulton County. Put it together. Okay. Let me look at your face right quick. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Okay, I see it now. Okay, I had to look at Dustin's face real quick on that one, y'all. Yeah, because again, and you know, this is not beat up on a black woman prosecutor day here at Holden Court, so I'm not gonna go there.
And it never is that day here. Never.
No. It's never that day here. Yeah. But I would be remiss to not name it.
And tell the truth.
Yeah, because we got to stand in accountability. Okay. Yep. Okay. And so there's the Trump of it all. But don't forget, ultimately, every single file that comes through the Fulton County District Attorney's office, although she might not be in the courtroom trying the case herself, because the sitting prosecutor, elected DA rarely is, but you better believe the leadership starts from the top down. And that is indeed Fonnie Willis's office. Okay.
Come on, Fonnie.
Okay, we're going to move on. So again, ultimately, the defense's motion for a mistrial was denied by Judge Whitaker, but she's mad as hell. And here's the other piece I want y'all to remember about this. The moment that, that mistrial piece is thrown out there for the first time, that allows, Dustin, for the defense to keep renewing the motion. Right? So the next time this prosecutor, DA Love, does some dumb shit, he or they on the team, the defense team, they get to, Your Honor, we'd like to renew our motion for mistrial. We'd like to renew our motion for mistrial. And you know what it reads on a transcript, on appeal, by the way, when you reading through the transcript, Dustin Ross, and over and over and over again, you see renewals for motions to mistrial. At some point, it's given throw the whole thing away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that can be very effective. Maybe not in this case. I don't see this necessarily getting to mistrial, although it could happen. But on appeal, this is going to be extraordinary for the defense. Just extraordinary. So that's it, and that's all. Also, I just want to flag, how I just mentioned, Dustin, that this is the longest case in Georgia state history in terms of the length of time. I think the prosecution is getting dangerously close to a Sixth Amendment challenge around everybody's constitutional right to a fair and speedy trial. Emphasis on speedy, right? So one of the things that the Sixth Amendment of the United States Constitution, this is going back, y'all, to the very first episode of Holden Court ever in life, episode 1, season 1, when Dustin and I said, know your documents. Okay? Know your documents. Go back to your Constitution as riddled with imperfections as it may still be, and certainly has been historically. It is still your best resort to protection of your legal rights in this nation today. So per the Constitution's Sixth Amendment, each and every one of us, including Young Thug and his co-defendants, are legally entitled to both a fair and speedy trial. Why speedy? Well, when you start talking about trials that are lasting over a year, over 18 months, up to 24 months, you are now talking about the compromise of the elements of justice. You're talking about witnesses getting missing, getting sick, maybe dying. You're talking about the evidence, chain of custody being potentially compromised more readily. So all of those things matter, y'all. So the fact that this trial is going on and on and on and on, I can see the defense, if not now, certainly again on appeal, bringing some type of Sixth Amendment challenge as to the breach of the right to both a fair and speedy trial, because this trial is far from speedy at this point in my legal estimation.
You're a good ass lawyer, because that word speedy was all you needed, baby. Yep. And you went right for it, and it's the truth. That is absolutely correct. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I've never seen any, I don't think anyone has. It's unprecedented. It's the longest one.
You couldn't have.
I've never seen anything like this in my life.
No, ever. You couldn't have, Dustin. You nor I or anybody else watching this. This is certainly a spectacle if I've ever seen one. from this carousel round robin of judges to this shoddy prosecution to
the antics of
the defendants.
Yes.
This is what we call a real shit show.
Call Ryan Murphy so we can go in and get this American Crime Story season popping.
Yeah. Quick question. Other than he himself, who would you have play Young Thug?
Let me see. Who could play Young Thug? Maybe. Well, he's too old now.
Who?
But Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle is the best actor. Sidebar. That is a thespian. Of the highest order.
Like true blue thespian. Like seriously, he could do it. Or hell, if we talking about people that can just act, Viola.
Yeah.
Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
She can play Young Thug. She can play anybody.
I mean, shit, if Meryl Streep looked like Future, we're not that far off.
We're not that far off. Okay?
Right. And I think on that note, we're gonna just go ahead and call this episode a wrap. I think we got to wrap it up on the Meryl Streep and Future of it all. Thank you, jurors. We appreciate y'all as always. Dustin and myself, so happy to be back in the saddle.
Yes, we are.
We will be bringing you fresh content each and every week. Y'all, we are adopting a more frequent recording schedule so we can try to keep up with these headlines because this news cycle is moving fast as hell this quarter. Time. Man, is it, as we enter and walk through this sweet, as Dustin Ross has coined it, this sweet fourth quarter. So with that said, y'all, just enjoy this fall foliage. And what you want the people to do, Dustin?
Read your terms and conditions and congratulate Eboni on her beautiful baby girl. That's what I want y'all to do. Yes, that's it.
Let mommy go to mommying and love it. Holding Court is produced by Uppity Productions. Host and executive producers here, Eboni K. Williams, yours truly, and the Dustin Ross. Executive producer in Dossie, McCraw. Our senior producer, Ashley Hobbs. Creative consultant, Jay Kleinberg. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any and everywhere you get your podcast.